Okay, I'll tell them. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and welcome to the August meeting of the Toronto Police Services Board. The meeting is properly constituted and called to order. I would remind people that they got a copy or should have got a copy on the way in of the meeting rules and procedures, and I'd ask them to abide by those. So thank you very much. I would also now ask my colleagues for a declaration, if there's any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflicts of Interest Act. Colleagues, none to declare. Thank you. I'd also welcome our new Secretary of the Board, Carleen Bennett, who has taken over from Deirdre, who did such extraordinary work for so long. So thank you and welcome. No pressure, but I'd like to start the meeting by announcing the new deputies, reading a statement I read just a few minutes ago outside, and we'd like to recognize them. So I'm pleased to announce the appointment of our 3 new Deputy Chiefs of Police, Staff Superintendent Peter Ewan, Superintendent Barbara McLean, and Inspector Shauna Coxon. These appointments, as you know, take place at a very exciting time in the Toronto Police Service when we are going through a modernization process, and so I think they're very timely and very important. And these 3 innovative and inspirational leaders will take the Toronto Police Service forward in a progressive way as we modernize and transform the ways that we can best serve the public and meet the needs and expectations of our communities. Together, these individuals bring extraordinary expertise in community policing, human resources, diversity and inclusion, fiscal responsibility, mentorship, and strategic management. And I should note that the process was a very rigorous process of identification. We had, I think, 12 applicants in total, interviewed 9, and they were both external and internal, and it was a very robust process. And so I'm delighted that these 3 individuals have been chosen. The new command team really enhances our commitment to the critical principles of accountability, professionalism, and civilian oversight. So please join me in welcoming our 3 new deputy chiefs, Peter Ewan, Barb McLean, and Shauna Coxon. And everybody come forward, please. And would you come forward, please? Thank you. So with that, colleagues, again, congratulations to our 3 new deputies. I would like to ask for confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held on July 27th, 2017. Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor Carroll. All in favor? Any contrary? Thank you. Item number 4, we have a presentation. Item number 5, the same thing. Item number, or actually, I guess we don't. Do we have a deputation on it? Item 5? 1 for 4, but not for 5. Is that correct? So can we get a motion to approve item 5, or does someone want to hold it? Is there a presentation or not? Okay, okay, so we'll hold that. Item number 6 has been deferred. It's deferred from a previous meeting. It's a motion to receive or request to defer, correct? So it has been, the presenter has asked it to be deferred to the next meeting, so we will do that. Then there is the consent agenda, items 7 through 19. Is there anything, or I guess it's through 15, is it? Motion to receive. Is there anybody who wants to hold anything in any of that? Okay. If not, may we have a motion to receive items 7 through 15? Councillor Lee, seconded Dr. Nuria. All in favor? Okay, but 19 is approved as opposed to receive. Okay. Okay. Does anybody want to hold anything 16 through 19? Okay, then let's amend that. May I have a motion to approve and receive as appropriately listed there items 7 through 19. Councillor Lee, seconded Dr. Nuria. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Carried unanimously. Item number 20, there's a deputation. Item number 21, there's a deputation. Item number 22, the delay applications, a motion to approve. Councillor Lee, seconded Mayor Tory. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried. Thank you. Item number 23, the special constable appointment, motion to approve. Councillor Carroll, seconded Councillor Lee. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried. Thank you. Item number 24, motion to approve the loan agreement of the multi-agent tactical sentry for the Toronto Police Service. Motion to approve. Councillor Lee, seconded Dr. Nuria. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 25, the digital photo viewing and management system maintenance agreement, the sole source. A motion to approve. Councillor Lee. Seconder. Dr. Nuria. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Item number 26, the digital video asset management system maintenance agreement. Again, a sole source award. Motion to approve. Councillor Lee again, seconded. Dr. Nuria, all in favor? Any contrary? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 27, vendor for wireless parking ticket issuance. A motion to approve. Hold. Okay. Thank you. Item number 28, retention of an organizational change management consultant. Motion to approve. Councillor Carroll, seconded Councillor Lee. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried. Thank you. Item number 29, there are deputations for. Item number 30 is request for special fund allocation for the Association of Black Law Enforcers. Motion to approve. Councillor Lee, seconded Mayor Tory. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 31, request for special fund, the Gatehouse Healing the Voice Within Art exhibit. Motion to approve. Councillor Carroll, seconded Councillor Lee. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried. Thank you. Item number 32, request from Special Fund Community Policing Academy. Motion to approve. Councillor Lee, seconded Dr. Nuria. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Another special fund beyond. Is this is deferred? Okay. Item number 33, request for a special fund to Beyond the Blue Toronto chapter has been deferred to a future meeting at the request of the chief. And then we have one walk-on item, is it correct? Two? Oh, yes. Page. Yes, item number 23 is the contract award, Human Resource Professional Services. Motion to approve. 34. It's on your back page. And Councillor Lee. Dr. Nuria seconds. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried unanimously. And then we have just a last-minute walk-on item, a request to retain Superintendent Deborah Preston, retired, for a disciplinary hearing. And the background of that is there is normally a 1 year. She has just retired. There's normally a 1 year prohibition. However, is hiring her back as a consultant. However, given the fact that it's an ongoing case, we're asking for permission to do that.
Mr. Chair, this came to us, fresh off the printer, still warm. Did it also make it to the public?
I don't think it probably did. Did it? No, it didn't.
If we could make sure sometime during the course of the meeting? Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to wait to that in the end, or do you want to approve it now?
Yeah, I think we should wait. Let's just make sure it's fully circulated.
Okay. So that brings us back to the beginning with the item number 4, the presentation of the way forward and the update on the Transformational Task Force. So, Superintendent Bergen and.
Good afternoon, Chair Pringle, members of the board, Chief Saunders. I'll use the Chief's earlier comments about actions or speak louder than words, so I'll be very brief with our update. What we're hopefully cover in the next few moments, we're talking about key programs and progress updates. We're going to be talking about new model of policing, service reallocation, technological improvements, human resources and culture change, and the modernization funding. From our first update, we did learn that the project management lens is very important, so I will give you some numbers. From a PMO standpoint, we currently have 22 of our recommendations on track in green. I will caution that a few of them, approximately 5, sometimes skid into the at risk, but we try to keep it as focused as we can. And they would be joining then 6 that currently are at risk, but we are looking at mitigation strategies in order to get that back on track. And again, 3 are completed and 1 has been discontinued. I last reported on the shift in our personnel that occurred on the 2nd of May that assisted our primary response during our demand times. This has, in this last quarter, been augmented by a community investigative support expansion. The CISU has been successfully piloted in 43 Division, and in the last quarter we've expanded that into 32, 41 and 42 Division. Just by way of some example of what that means, this is the true realization of taking a primary response and going into a priority function by giving it the support of an investigative squad. Currently in 41 Division, that team of only 8 members are responsible for taking off 20% of the call volume, that allowing our members then to concentrate on our priority calls, which are the buckets that we talk about from 1 to 3. It's the true realization of primary to priority. We expect a service-wide rollout to be completed at the latter part of this year. The district model update occurred on the 4th of July. This is where we looked at a senior officer realignment. There we took 17 unit commanders and brought it down to 11. We are now working with our Environics tools, with our BI and Ian Williams, and most likely we'll be realizing very soon that we'll be able to look at an actual solid number, and we anticipate that to be around 10 unit commanders operating out of a district model. In 12, 23, and 31, which is best described as our northwest of our community, which is experiencing about 40% of our violence in the city, we're finding that their excess of 600 members have given Unit Commander Ron Tavner the opportunity to use those resources and to reallocate them as demand requires it. This has certainly been beneficial with dealing with things as missing person investigations, gun violence, and homicide investigations. The data analysis that I speak of will be finalized. We're expecting to go to our command strategy management meetings in September to look at a realization of what those true numbers will be going into Q4 of 2017. As far as service reallocation, our updates on transition activities fall outside of the core policing functions, how we are looking at bylaw enforcement, how we're looking at taking our calls from a 911 calendar events to where 311 or just the general line 222 can be utilized. We took a sample size of 56,000 calls, and that we took 22%, which are best described as noisy parties, noise complaints, animal complaints, traffic obstructions, traffic signal disputes, landlords and tenants, and damage to property. Those 22% represented 9,000 calls that we could divert to alternative service other than priority response. That's incredible, and that's something that will continue to expand across the city. I believe it's necessary also to continue to inform this board that we are still working on the lifeguard and crossing guard portfolios. I'm confident that at the October Executive Council at the City of Toronto, you will find that there is an alignment to our business plan, and that you will find that the financial commitments and the capacity of the City of Toronto will be able to assume that service delivery. We expect the lifeguards to in fact be handed over with a service level agreement at the City of Toronto prior to the summer of 2018. The crossing guard is still in a request of information with the City of Transportation, and that will be prior to the start of September 2018 school year. With respect to technology, we have introduced the Public Safety Data Portal, and that's been led by our Business Intelligence Unit, and that was put in place in June and is on our website. This is to improve neighborhood safety, to help the community understand policing, improve transparency, and enhance confidence in our policing deployment. It's an effort to provide a more accessible, transparent information to the public, and this service makes sure that the public has access to our traffic and crime data, our analytics, and our interactive dashboards that the public can access. A representative of our Business Intelligence Unit also sits with Paul Ainsley on the City of Toronto Open Data Committee. The Community Asset Portal that I also had indicated at our last update is up and running. This is a true partnership with our members at 211 Toronto, the City of Toronto, and Ryerson University. This is timely because this speaks about neighborhood assets, shelters, community resources, mental health, and youth support services. And these are available so that all people understand hours of operation, contact information, transportation, and maps to those facilities. Our Connected Officer program has certainly moved into its phase 1 with the support of our PEM grant, and I'll speak about it in a moment. We now have 35 of our smart devices out in the field. This is equipping our frontline officers and giving them the ability to be untethered from their car. They've sat in the last few years working out of a mobile workstation, but this now allows a smartphone to give them that data and that access to the information without the obstructions of being tied to a car. With respect to human resources and culture change, since the release of the final report in January, significant progress has been made to determining what a modernized human resource function looks like. as well as corresponding people plan to enable some of us to understand better the use of our talent management, and also to envision what culture change is as articulated in the way forward. Human Resources will be coming forward to this board in September, and I'm very confident that you'll be satisfied that that HR strategy is aligned to what we are currently doing in strategy management to design a policing model that is appropriate for our deployment. Deputy Barb McLean, Director Jeanette May, and Manager Gloria Pakovan have been amazing advocates to assist us in our transformation and giving us a comprehensive understanding of the service competency framework and how this will apply to our members. Funds from the PEM grant have been allocated for the organizational cultural assessment that will provide us with an overall picture of our service culture, what we are doing right, and what areas we can improve upon. Service requests or RFPs to secure a vendor to conduct an organizational culture assessment of the service has been completed. Culture is not just about how we engage with the public, our partners, or our internal members. Goals, processes, values, practices, and a host of other interconnected elements each play a vital role. A clear vision of roles and processes that support our vision, leadership response, and members' empowerment, and a commitment to continuous improvement are required to ensure our success. The PEM grant from Queen's Park. The one-time Policing and Effectiveness Modernization PEM grant offered by the Ministry of the Community Safety and Correction Services has been approved in the amount of $18.9 million. We are focusing on implementing the support of the following initiatives. Briefly, what I've spoke of already, the Connected Officer Phase 1, expanding and understanding community-centered neighborhood officer program, public safety response that we spoke about, recommendation 6, improve capacity to report and to use and relate to the data and information of analysis that's available to us. And again, culture change and human resources, our people plan strategy. This grant is timely, it is required for us to modernize, and this modernization effort will apply to all of our program deliverable and our requirements as well as recommendations. We've had challenges. Partnerships have been a critical component of the successful implementation of our new model of policing. While we continue to receive the support of our efforts, that our unique challenges to establish these partnerships include aligning business processes, goals, and timeframes. Business continuity has been our #1 focus during this modernization transition. Human Resources had advised that our attrition rate, our resignations, and our retirements is running slightly ahead of the anticipated numbers that are forecasted in the T.W.F. I'm going to give you some true numbers, and these are as of Monday this week. We've lost this year 113 civilians and 193 uniform. That's a total of 306 members. If we take our uniform deployment from 2016, we had lost 171. That, with our year-to-date of 193, represents we have lost in 2 years 364 uniform. Although the hire moratorium was put in place and was established for 3 years, it is now clear that maintaining it will bring these numbers down below our anticipated complement of 4,750. We're asking to work with HR, we're asking to work with this board, we'll be working with command to ensure that any recruitment processes will align with the new HR structure, the competency framework that will support the modernized implementation. Successful reform must always be practical, flexible, and timely. We have found with respect to challenges that we have had also assumptions and we've had directions that have been put upon us through this implementation model, but we've had to be very nimble in our response to make sure that we can still keep the lights on. We are continuing to take steps to support our frontline men and women, which means looking for additional efficiencies, assessing current roles and responsibilities in some of the areas, as well as we look at every opportunity to maximize our outcomes. We are engaging court service to begin working on enhanced prisoner management that will complement our expansions of our district model. We are preparing to roll out Consolidated Criminal Investigation Bureaus, CIBs, and that will be realized in Q1 of 2018. We are changing our policing model, and today you have seen tangible examples. The business of policing is complicated. However, we have a dedicated team working on the implementation of these recommendations in the action plan, The Way Forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Bergen. We have two deputations, but Derek is not here, or is he? No, I don't. So if you could just, we'll just take the deputations, Frank, and if you could just stand by, we'll then get into questions. We'll ask, yes. So the first Deputant Miguel, who I have seen. Ah, there you are. Where's my timer? Okay. So Miguel, you know the rules. 5 minutes, and must be on topic.
On topic. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Topic. All right. Last July, I had opportunity. Oh wow! I had opportunity to meet Superintendent Tony Rivera, the new superintendent for 51 Division. I have an amicable discussion at Regent Park, enjoying the sun, having a normal conversation, and we're talking about the community police officers. So I asked him the question, what do you think about the police officers living in our communities? Well, he says, that is not practical because officers, they can be hunted for X reasons. I said, that's not true. That's something that the police union is telling them so they can move to the suburbs and be, living out there because they're middle class. Well, he said, you know what? I'm going to take that under consideration and advice because it's priority that if you select community police officers, they must have not just be born in the community, but perhaps be part integral of the community. The children can go to the same schools, they can go to the same church, So that's the way to modernize our police force. Secondly, we asked about the uniform. The white-collar uniform basically does produce an image of peacefulness. A neutral color. Instead of the blue soldier color that we have out there, it just scares the hell out of people, especially people with mental illness and addictions. Thirdly, we discussed about the community in general. The community in general needs jobs. In that regards, we talk about the police duty, and I showed him a letter that I sent to the office of Mayor John Tory and every single member of this board table about what the province might do or may not do. So it takes about political will to change the rules of the Police Act of Ontario in order that regular Torontonians can perform the duties of police officers watching potholes, as is paid right now, $67.50. And I don't care if they leave the city and they move away. We really don't need bad police officers. You know what is better to know is how much money our taxes in cost insurance goes to pay police officers commit crimes. We had to stop the vacation time of the police officers who are waiting for on the court decisions. This is a flagrant abuse of any human right because nobody deserves to have to wait in a home waiting while getting full payment and benefits. Nobody does that, but you make it happen and it should stop. That's the bottom line. And here I just want to say one thing for everybody's. I want to ask the resignation of Mr. Mark Saunders. Last month, you covered up Paul Terriot.
Miguel, I think please stick to the, I understand, but please
6 months
stick
to
to
go to the
the,
SIU. It is a shame. You don't take us for the stupid people. We understand what happened.
Believe me
it was
or
a
not.
full cover-up.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yep.
Please resign.
Thank
And
you,
thank
Miguel.
you.
Colleagues, any questions of the Deputy? If not, is Derek Moran here? Okay, I don't think Derek is. Therefore, we'll ask Superintendent Bergen to come back for colleagues for questions.
I'm also joined by Acting Inspector Greg Watts.
Thank you, yes. So I'm going to page, it's page 2 in your report, page 7 in the board book. The description of what you're going to use the PEM grant for. And it's kind of an interesting mixed bag. Connected Officer Phase 1, it looks like a tech buy, obviously. But some of them look like things that are not really one-time money. So I'm wondering if they're all really procurements that are the tech part of that project. Is that sort of what we're looking at here?
Councillor, I think your question is bang on. It's well received. I will let you know that the actual guidelines from the ministry were very clear on what we could use or what buckets we could use them. Very consistent with what we're hearing at the ministry, what we're hearing at FPAC, is that in fact that the province is absolutely committed to modernization. And in that definition of modernization, it did speak about culture change. It did speak about looking at human resources. It did speak about academic partnerships. I'm very confident that out of the large bucket that the province provided, I can be very confident in telling you that Toronto Police was one of 5 services within the province that was successful. We actually got everything that we had asked for. I will tell you one of the challenges, in fact, will be to spend the money, because it's a one-time grant funding that must be in place and put in place with direction and clear deliverables by the 31st of March 2018. And that has been quite a challenge. One thing that we have experienced in strategy management has been the encumbrance of the procurement process. So everything that we are doing is held to requests for services, proposals, information or interest. And so that's one of the things. But be very confident that the buckets that we have described are aligned to what, in fact, the ministry has said we can use the money for. What is not included in here is the expansion of the conducted energy weapons. That is something that also was used for that funding, but we did not, from strategy management, move in that direction.
Right. So I guess I need to know the financing stuff. Maybe Mr. Veneziano can help us with this. I don't see how, unless, because this is a grant, you can start spending it in year. I don't know how you'd meet that deadline and wait for us to get our budget approved. So some of this stuff is going to have to march ahead of the budget process. Is that possible?
Well, the grants are very specific, as Superintendent Bergen indicated. In a lot of cases, they're seed money. So as an example, Connected Officer, we're going to start a proof of concept with a number of devices that we're going to test. That will then allow us to populate our capital program and our operating program in terms of the expansion and actual rollout of that program. That will come to the board as part of the budget process, either in 18 or the following year. So you're right, this is really intended to give us a kickstart in a lot of cases, but there will be investments that the service will have to cover through capital and operating as we move forward.
So you think if you have proof of concept and you had decided what model you want to use, you could, if you got to that deadline and we weren't actually awarding, you could go to Queen's Park and say, we're in procurement, we've done the advanced work, please don't shut the door on the deadline. Similar to past stimulus funding types of things.
Yeah, so some are going to be more challenging than others in terms of being able to actually get the services or the goods in the door and the money expended before March 31st. You're actually going to see a report next month that actually requests us to give the chief the authority to make some of those awards so we can save some time.
Yeah.
So we're looking at strategies to allow us to do that. Others are well underway, and like the connected officer being one of them that we're pretty confident we'll be able to achieve by the March 31st deadline. So we're looking at this sort of one initiative at a time and trying to be as creative and as strategic as possible in terms of making sure that we take full advantage of the funds that are being provided and spend that money in accordance with proper procurement processes and making sure that we get value.
Okay, I had two other notes, Mr. Vice Chair. Well, I can skip over the issue of reallocation to city services. Bravo, I didn't realize that was so far along. So, because the city staff aren't talking about it. They're maybe not happy about it, but it seems like you've got them there. But the last one was the issue around the funds for the grant will also help us to start the website work. Hallelujah, the website is dark ages. But I'm wondering, we're using master's students from the University of Waterloo Design Department, very, very cutting edge department, no question about it. I'm wondering if the assessment that comes back on our existing website and their comments, would the board get a chance to see the Waterloo U report? I'd be interested in seeing their findings somewhere before we're just jumping from their report to, and now we got a new website and we pick someone to do it. I'd love to have a look at it to see if they covered everything that bugs me about the website.
We can definitely have that report sent up to the chief's office.
So we could access it. It won't show up on the board agenda, for instance, but we could access it. Okay, excellent. Okay.
If I could just add, with respect to what you had brought up of the university, they assisted us with respect to giving a focus on what will be the terms of reference for the RFI and to move forward on the procurement process. So they will not, at this point, will not be the ones that are going to be delivering the service, but they're the ones that had used their eye and their approach to this to give us a better understanding of what we would in the future expect it to look like.
Is it written in plain language?
Yes,
If I looked at it, I'd see if the components that I always thought were missing, I could check to see if they're highlighted.
If it's appropriate, we'll work with Joanne and we'll provide you then the summary from their study.
I would love that. Thank you. Okay, those are my.
Dr. Noria? Okay, I do have a question. On recommendation 21, with regard to outsourcing parking enforcement, the City of Toronto is looking at it. Do you know if they are considering Toronto Parking Authority as one of the outsourcers? They do have a contingent of parking enforcement personnel.
The focus of an actual study or assessment that's being done is on courts and on parking enforcement only. We're not aware of anything to do with the Toronto Parking Authority.
Yeah, because the parking authority actually operates the on-street parking as well.
Yes.
And so I think it should be considered.
So that would have to come through another avenue, because our focus is really on things that are part of our operation.
I know
right
getting
now.
it out of your books, but the thing is that I think the City of Toronto should be advised of that.
Also, just also to be clear on where the process stands right now, the City of Toronto is going to be releasing an RFP to bring in an outside company to do a cost-benefit analysis of courts and parking. Part of that's our first step. Part of that will include a best practices jurisdictional scan, and we can definitely speak with our partners at the city to let them know that Toronto Parking Authority should be someone that they speak to.
Should be
and
considered,
just to get that overall picture of what's out there.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Councillor Carroll, you want to move to Dr. Noria, Councillor Carroll, all those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank and team. Okay, the next item we are going to is number 5. And we have, deputations. I don't see any on my list here. This is a presentation, okay. Proceed.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here today to discuss the color and design selection for the Toronto Police Service vehicles, which, as you are likely aware, is part of the board report you've received and was presented publicly on Monday of this week. So today I'm going to discuss the results of listening to our community and listening to our members, the process that was undertaken subsequent to conducting a survey in terms of analyzing results, identifying design partners to explore the options for development of a new color scheme as well as elements for that vehicle, and the final approval process that was undertaken. So we created a survey to assist in presenting the public with a number of questions, 14 in fact, and received back 18,000 responses from both the community and Toronto Police Service members around color, placement of different design elements such as the Toronto Police logo, the motto, the swoosh on the side of a car. And through that process, we compared the results and identified Ryerson School of RTA Media in order to present a series of design options for the organization to consider by taking into account the various iterations of the survey results. And through that process, it became quite evident that a number of the elements which we've presented here were in complete agreement between the Toronto Police Service members as well as the community. So 80% of the design elements, of which you see here, there was agreement on both the part of the public as well as members of the Toronto Police Service. And as we designed the options with Ryerson's RTA School of Media, it became quite clear that through that consensus, there was also a couple of areas where there were options for identifying a balanced approach. And with the design focus of high visibility and professionalism in mind, we moved through the results of this survey by doing an analysis that resulted in really a number of options, which includes our final result, that allowed us to view both the members of the public view as well as members of TPS. And through this presentation, we've summarized a number of those elements, which will help put into context what those elements are and how they came as a result in a final design option. So the most notable element, of course, is the color. And through our consultations and survey results, there was really white and gray as the two key design elements that came as the strongest colors of choice by both the members of the public and members of TPS. And we can see in the table on the chart behind me that there was that key distinction. And on top of that, we identified also that prominence of certain elements, such as the word police, which we notice as well on our presentation, that members of the community as well as members of TPS wanted definitively noted on the side of that vehicle. The TPS crest, there was general agreement as to the placement of that element, and as we can see in the vehicle, on the front side of the door, the final placement was identified. And both the community and TPS members agreed that that was the ideal placement for that element. Also, the size of that crest was considered a key design element, which came out strongly from both members of the public as well as TPS members. So we were able to come as well to the same consensus through the motto placement, the "To Serve and Protect" item, which is located on the front of the vehicle on the hood above the wheel. And so we were able to select, again, through the survey, the font and the type of lettering on that as well. Also, the size and distinction of Toronto and police. It was identified that police was the most distinct word to be placed on the side of that vehicle. And also that there was no outline around that text as well. So through this process, we had identified, as you have been presented here as well as in the board report, all of the results of the survey from both the internal members and the members of the public to be able to identify a consensus for a balanced approach as to a high visibility, professional presented vehicle design. And through that process, which was driven by both the community and members of TPS, we've identified this as our new vehicle, which we've seen again publicly and presented here. And also concurrent to that, we were able to provide an experiential opportunity for students of Ryerson's RTA Media and enabled city building as an approach through this process as well. So this is a summary of those design elements, a presentation of the vehicle, and with more detail provided in the report that we've presented today, as well as all of the survey results. You can have further detail within that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Colleagues, questions?
Yeah, the analysis that we're looking at on the presentation, that's not actually attached to our agenda, the report item. We have the raw data, but I can't tell if the SurveyMonkey answers here. It's not as easily highlighted, the comparison between the community and the service members in the way it's presented in the agenda. Can we have that presentation attached to the agenda? So if I'm looking back at it years later, it's now, you know, under the month of August with the raw data.
We can absolutely present that. And just to clarify, to your point, that was just literally a summary of the survey results, which are provided. We just did them as a side-by-side, as opposed to the results of all the questionnaires that were completed through members of the public, as well as the next set that were completed by members of TPS. So exact same data, just presented as a side-by-side comparison.
Right. Here they're blended into the same bar graphs.
No, you'll find actually in the board report that there's two sets of those 14 questions.
Oh,
so
right,
one by
right,
members
yes.
of the public, and then
So
the second one.
so going back and
So you
forth
could,
with-
if you printed
yeah.
them out, compare question one side by side. However, we can make this available.
Paperless, as you know. I'm not printing anything out. Okay, to speak when.
Any more questions, colleagues? If not, a motion to, Yep. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if there are no more questions, I'll speak. So I'm not going to move any motion different than what's here, but I am on the record as saying that, you know, while it's clear, especially when we look at the data presented this way, that the design really is a compromise between those two sets of data. But I will say this, procedurally, I don't think we really did the best in terms of writing the motions the way we should have written them. I went back, I thought, okay, why are they already ordered and why am I not proving the design before that? Because when you read the report, it jumps out at you, oh, wait a second, what did we ask them to do? So I went back and went through all the times that we visited since the first gray cars came out. One could make the argument that we didn't specifically ask that a review and the survey come back to us first and then we approve it. We weren't that specific in our motion. So we need to do a little bit better in governance. But I just want to be on the record as saying is I think we missed a chance here in something that some would say is is not the level of human controversy that we so often deal with here, this would have been a good time to demonstrate how we work with community, because we got 17,000 community responses. So for the board to say, we will now take the responses and therefore approve a design, so we will adopt it, and then you will order the cars, I think we missed an opportunity here. That would have been the ideal process, but the reason I'm not moving a motion and making issue with it is looking at all of the motions going back, we didn't expressly set up that expectation. Our motions really do look more like we're asking for consultation to be done and then a decision to be made, not necessarily that it would be our decision. But one could argue that it should have been assumed that that was the intention, because we did talk during the board meeting about the fact that that was the way we got from yellow to red, white, and blue back in the 80s. So I think we gotta crisp up the governance a little bit, but I think there can be more effort made to anticipate our needs when we're not crisp. Yeah. But I will adopt the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Any other comments, colleagues? If not, may I have a motion then to approve item number 5, the service vehicle design and color? Councillor Lee, seconded. Councillor Carroll, all in favor? Any contrary? Carried. Thank you. Carleen, that takes us to what, item number 20? Yeah. Okay. This is the review of inquiries made to the Canada Border Services, and there is a deputation, and it is Desmond Cole. Sorry, Desmond? What's that? Desmond, you know the rules. You have 5 minutes. I'll give you a 1-minute warning. And it is stick to the topic at hand, please.
Mm-hmm. So first of all, I would just like to acknowledge all of the many, many people who have come out here this afternoon in support of Black liberation. I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to talk to those who are watching this on the internet right now.
So, Desmond, are we going to talk about the Canada Border Services or not?
I'm sorry, are you going to let me speak?
Well, not if you're not going to talk to the topic.
What's going on? You haven't heard what I have to say, so thanks.
If you would talk to the topic,
Are you stopping
yes.
my time? Can you stop my time, please?
Talk
Can
to
you
the
stop my
topic.
time? Thank you. So,
Stick to the topic, please. Thank you.
say again?
Stick to the topic, please.
I haven't made any remarks except to thank people for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't interrupt me.
Stick to the topic then.
Is that in the bylaws? I hope my time is stopped. I want to make sure I obey your ridiculous rules. Is it in the bylaws that I have to look at you and talk to you, or can I talk to these people here?
You have an opportunity.
Say again.
I'll be clear, since we have cheering outside. My understanding of the rules is depute means depute the board, and
Right.
I understand the chair's issue to be you've already indicated that you will not be deputing the board. I'm really interested to be deputed. I'd really like to hear.
You
So
can
we
hear.
No, we want to hear you talk
I'm being
to us
addressed.
and give us information on this topic.
You
So
haven't even let me speak yet,
Please
so
do
I don't know
so,
how I can
and
do that.
I will give you the time.
The 5 minutes
Start
that you
now.
stopped me
Yes,
for?
right now.
Thank you. I am going to address you because there's nothing in the bylaws that says I have to look at or talk to these individuals, and I've been talking to them for years without any outcome anyhow. You are the people who are here to hold them to account. You direct them and not the other way around, so I will address you. So let me use my time wisely. This issue on the agenda about the number of undocumented people who our police are interacting with and calling the Canadian Border Services Agency on, this is an issue about access without fear. There was a motion at Toronto City Council in 2013 saying that Toronto is a sanctuary city. That means that all residents, regardless of their immigration status, ought to be able to access all city services without fear that they will get punished, have border agents called on them, potentially to be deported. That's the spirit of Sanctuary City. We know that City Council, including this current version of City Council, is committed to access without fear because at the beginning of this year, Mayor Tory and the council reaffirmed that they believe in a sanctuary city where everyone can access services. Okay, you guys with me so far? The problem is that even though the city has committed to this, even though the province in many ways has committed to this, so for example, in the Education Act, the province says you can go to school in Ontario regardless of your immigration status, right? And your immigration status can't say that you're not allowed to go to school because we want all kids, no matter of their status, to go to school. So the province agrees, the city agrees. The only people who don't agree with don't ask, don't tell, as it's called, meaning don't ask people their immigration status while you're providing them services, and don't tell the authorities if you find out. The only city agency that does not agree with that policy is the Toronto Police Force. And yes, indeed, it is a shame. And the folks at this table, instead of making our police commit to the same thing that every other city agency has to do, they have sat here and pushed paper since 2013, like the motion that's before us today, saying, well, we just need more statistics. Why aren't the police already keeping statistics about the number of undocumented people that they are stopping and searching and questioning and reporting if this is really a sanctuary city? Why wouldn't you already have those protections in place? But since 2013, you've been pushing paper, they have been pushing paper, instead of actually dealing with this issue. Now, access without fear in the current climate where police will report an undocumented person's status, that makes access without fear impossible. How much time do I have left? Excellent. Let me use schools as an example because they are also on today's agenda. We hear a lot about police and schools. The soul of the argument against that has to do with undocumented people who deserve to go to school like everybody else, but who can't safely do so when there is a police officer in the school who has sworn that if they find out that person's immigration status, they will report them. That is not access without fear, and that is not a safe environment for our children to go to school. And I dare say everybody at this table knows it. But you guys saw the security measures when you came in today. Just as the police have intimidated all of us, including myself, for speaking out, they have intimidated this board into silence and into stalling tactics. So this is not about stats. This report and this issue that is before this board is irrelevant. We know through media reporting and through Freedom of Information Acts that thousands of calls are made by the Toronto Police to Canadian Border Services every year. Thousands. So for them to say that what they need now is more statistics is just pushing the ball further and putting more undocumented people. Look how many hundreds of people are coming to this country and coming to this city right now from the United States, running away from the Trump administration. But what this board is telling them is that we won't make the police protect you even if you run here out of fear. So they shouldn't be, not just in our schools if they don't want to agree to don't ask, don't tell. There shouldn't be any policing going on in the city if the city cops are not committed to don't ask, don't tell. And many larger issues about anti-black racism and about the kind of violence that's being perpetrated in our communities relate to this one. And I had to get arrested for the people who are sitting at this table to mark my every word because I've been coming here for years and it's been falling on deaf ears. But we as a community together are going to force our police to either agree to don't ask, don't tell, or to stop policing.
Thank you, Desmond.
Thank you.
Colleagues, are there any questions of Mr. Cole? Okay, thank you very much.
See, they wanted to hear it, but they don't have any questions. I'll be back anyway. I got one more item.
Yes, Councillor Carroll.
Yeah, I do have questions of staff on the report. So on the report, the deputy is right. We've been trying to dig at this for a long time. And what we're now seeing is that there's a possibility to roll this into possibly the tech that is coming, the connected officer tech, so that we will have a technological way to track. But I want to make sure that we don't lose what some of the issues have been. From the very first time we brought this forward, there was an issue of, well, the only easy to access documentation right now is if there was an inquiry made in conjunction with an investigation of a crime, something that was leading to an arrest, and then it shows up. If it's just making an inquiry about someone when it hadn't to do with crime, those are the very ones we want to know about, because then there isn't a reason under our partnership with Border Services to be asking if we're truly a sanctuary city. If you're not investigating a crime, you shouldn't be checking. And that's the very data we can't seem to get our hands on. So if we add this to the technology, will it be clear that we want you to enter a field, you made this inquiry, so that we have a digital record on our side that an inquiry was made, arrest or no arrest? Is it clear that that's what we will be wanting when we get to a technological solution?
Yes, that's correct. That is exactly where we want to move to. And I think, to be honest, Councillor, it's not just a matter if we're checking just for criminality. I think it's just if we check, period, for any circumstance, then at the end of the day, I'd like to know who's doing the checks and what the reasons are for the checks.
So it's possible that in 2018, because we've just heard in the last item that the issue of getting to the technological solutions, now that it's jointly funded, is going to come sooner rather than later. Once we get there, if we're tracking every time there's an inquiry, would it come as a surprise to the service that if we find a lot of these inquiries are being made when you're not investigating criminal behavior, that is not the city's definition of sanctuary city. So we will be wanting to develop new policy at that point. Is that I hope that won't come as a surprise.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, colleagues? If not, may I have a motion to receive item 20? Councillor Carroll, seconded Councillor Lee. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried. Thank you. That takes us to 21. And there's deputations here again from, Tamara Thomas, please. Is Tamara Thomas here? Could we check outside to make sure Tamara Thomas is here? Okay, let's, are there any, if there's no deputant to address this issue, is there any comments or questions from board members? Okay, you have her written submission in the materials, even though she's not here to give it, colleagues. So, if there's no further questions, may we have a motion to approve item number 21? Sorry? Yeah. Okay, put the motion on the board. Okay, so the motion for, in addition to the motion contained in the report, that I review the recommendations directed to the board and provide the board a report in November, at the board November 16 meeting with respect to implementing these recommendations, which I think we all endorse. It's just a question of coming back as quickly and efficiently as possible and embracing those, and the chief will be back at the same time frame on the services. So that's in addition to the motion. Any discussion? Any comments? Councillor Carroll?
Just to speak to the motion, I think we should speak to the motion so that
Thank you.
people know we had lots of discussion when the recommendations first came our way. I'm more than happy to support not only the motion but the timelines, because you're indicating that we support these. But I'm anxious that we really get it right. I think to set up the new committee that's recommended needs a lot of thought and a call out. We don't want to presuppose. I think the community may have some interesting ideas, so we should give you the time as chair to look at how we're going to populate the new committee. And I think to get that right, it's worth waiting till November so that the timing comes along the same time as the chief is reporting back on the recommendations that are directly to the service. But most important to me and most exciting is the pilot recommended. I like that it's a board recommendation, because what it says is, you know, you could give that recommendation straight to the service and they'd come forward saying apologetically, we'd like to do this pilot and here's the cheapest way possible to do it. I like that it was sort of landed before us. I think what ideally we'd like to see is that the service and the board work together to figure out how to do this pilot, how to get it right, how to evaluate it properly, and come back with an implementation. Coming back in November allows us to look realistically at the price tag of all that and make sure that we're able to put it in the budget in the new year and proceed as soon as possible to actually do this pilot that allows us to do a real control group comparison study and make real change. So I more than support the motion, and the timeline is about making sure that we really do this. We really set up an excellent new committee and we execute a real, not a just for show pilot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Do you want to propose the motion then? Motions? Okay, Councillor Lee? Okay, Councillor Carroll then? So you're proposing the motion seconded by Councillor Lee. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried. Thank you. Number 27, Councillor Lee, I think you wish to hold.
Yes, I have a question for staff. This wireless parking ticket, is it the same that parking authorities are using? Is it the same system?
Yes, I believe it is.
It is, eh? So it's
Well, the current
system
is the same system.
Right, current system is the same. But the new system, because they just went with WinP mobile app and able to check whether somebody is do a ticketless purchase on the parking spot. So we should be able to check that and says that the person has purchased, right?
Yes,
okay.
The answer is yes.
All right, then I got no problems at move the recommendation.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, colleagues? If not, motion to accept or to approve item number 27. Councillor Carroll, Councillor Lee, all in favor? Any contrary? Carried. Thank you. That brings us to item number 29, which is the School Resource Officer Program Review and Evaluation. There are a number of deputations. Chief Saunders, do you want to say anything about this beforehand, or do go right to deputations?
We can go right to deputations, please.
Okay. Thank you, Dion, we'll get there. So who are the deputies? Here's your list. Okay. So the first deputant is Phil Morgan, please. Mr. Morgan, you've got 5 minutes, and I'll give you a 1-minute warning, if I may.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm here as a concerned citizen. I'm also here as a freelance journalist. And I'm here to just add a bit of context to this conversation around school resource officers, because I feel like as this represented in the agenda, it's completely sort of decontextualized. It says in the agenda, it is recommended that the following principles be adopted as a guide for the SRO program review and evaluation by Ryerson University: inclusivity, equity, and safety. The document then goes on to note that there will be an SRO review committee that will oversee the work of the Ryerson review team. That committee consists of 7 public members and 3 Toronto Police Service members. There's also a steering committee comprised of, among other people, the chief of police. So my question to you is, what does inclusivity look like in a context where community input has been excluded for nearly a decade? The program was implemented in the aftermath of the Manners shooting without any community consultation whatsoever. At the TPSB meeting in May, where I made a deputation, the agenda included a 2-page letter from Angela Kennedy, the chair of the Toronto Catholic District School Board, singing glowing praises about the SRO program. And yet, community concern, which is represented by more than 18 organizations beyond these walls, and also many deputations that have been given within these walls, was reduced to 5 simple words: there have been some concerns. That was the only thing that the agenda said about all of the community concerns that have been addressed over the last 10 years. So again, I ask, what does inclusivity look like when community has been excluded, and when the Toronto Police Service is part of this evaluation process and is routinely shown contempt for community concern? On the matter of equity, I ask, what does equity look like in an institution, the Toronto Police Service, that has never applied that concept in any meaningful way? All we need to do is look at the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability that exists within this institution to know that equity has no place here. It's never been talked about here. It's never been addressed. So what does equity look like? And on the third point of safety in the context of carding, safety in the context of Defonte Miller, safety in the context... The list is so long. I don't even know where to begin. So, and actually, I'm glad someone mentioned Andrew Loku, because I want to actually double back to the point about equity. So, in the TPS write-up about equity, they say that they want to adhere to the core principles of the TPS, which is freedom from bias. Yet, among the jury recommendations in the Loku inquest is for training around bias-free service delivery. So, what's going on here? I don't understand how you expect the general public to trust the police and Ryerson University when I as a reporter have reached out to several people within Ryerson University, including the vice president of research. Couldn't get any answers about who's doing this study, who's responsible for it, who's going to be involved. Several community organizations have also reached out to people. Can't get any answers about who's involved. So again, this is the TPS is synonymous with a lack of transparency, a lack of accountability, and you are asking us to put faith in that organization.
How can I expect you to save my son, keep him safe?
Exactly. So if you're going to do an evaluation of this program, suspend the SRO program first, so that no students. so that no other students have to be saddled with the burden of a discriminatory police force that's in their schools. Once you've dealt with that, then go and do a proper review, a proper independent review. But as it stands, this is like we can't be expected to trust this. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Questions of Mr. Morgan? Councillor Carroll?
Thank you. So just on the matter of inquiring about the review, I'm interested because you say that you and others reached out to Ryerson directly. Did they explain that the reason they couldn't answer it was because the board had to finish the terms and ratify it? Did anybody explain that part of the process?
No explanation whatsoever. No.
Because we're here today. Like there isn't a deal until we vote for the deal. So did anybody explain to you that it wasn't deciding how the review would be done by Ryerson is not complete until we agree to these terms?
No, so there's been no explanation of where things are at in the process. The public has just been left to just guess at what's happening. I mean, again, I've reached out to Ryerson, and had I received that explanation, I would have been satisfied. But there was no information whatsoever.
That's unfortunate, because as you can see, that's what's happening today. I'm wondering also, since you asked about the Ryerson review, I'm wondering if people who are, yes, that's why I'm asking if anyone explained the process when you were making inquiries. I'm asking questions of the deputy that's before us. Yes.
Councillor Carroll
yes.
has the floor. Thank you.
So the other thing is, I'm just wondering, as an adjunct to that, you'll be aware, I think most people are aware that at the same time that the public board is also doing their own review. Have you made any inquiries? Because I made inquiries myself, and I still don't have an answer as to who's doing theirs. Is the community aware?
So, to my knowledge, the TDSB is trying to do research in consultation with the community. But the thing is, in light of events that have happened with the TDSB over the summer, the timeline's been pushed back, and so. Organizations that I'm affiliated with have reached out and tried to say, where are we at in the process? What's going on? There's been no follow-up with that as well. So these things keep getting pushed on, both at the board level, like the Toronto District School Board, and also here, keep getting pushed on, asking for more studies, more time, more, and all this does is sort of prolong the suffering of the students who are most vulnerable and being most affected by this program. And so this is why I'm asking for the program to be suspended today, suspended ASAP, and then conduct a proper evaluation. But there's this shifting goalposts of the timelines. I've heard through the grapevine that Ryerson actually was considering pulling out of the study. So there's all these problems with the way that things are currently being done, and the program. In the meanwhile, students are still suffering. So the program needs to be suspended.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Colleagues, any other questions? Mr. Morgan, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next, Desmond Cole. Desmond, 5 minutes, and I'll give you a 1-minute warning.
I want to again thank and acknowledge everybody who decided to come out today in support of Black liberation, in support of justice for children in our schools, in support of DeFonte Miller. I want to talk about what happened the last time this issue was raised in this room. Because what you guys are seeing in this room today, and what you guys are seeing on television in this room today, if you can see this whole room, is the militarization of a public space. So that I will not come here and talk about police in our schools. Well, that's very important, actually. The reason why I think it's very important is because what happens in this room is a microcosm of what happens in our schools and what happens in the larger community. They are the same. Last month, the individuals, in June, 2 months ago, the individuals at this table sat here and watched as the Toronto Catholic District School Board bussed in. They took dozens of kids out of school and they bussed them here to say that they love having police officers in their schools. That means that the Toronto Catholic District School Board had to pay substitute teachers so that the teachers who they wanted to come here could come and take time off. They spent money on buses. They spent money on lunch. They spent hundreds, if not thousands of your dollars to come and bring kids here to say, I love the police in my school. And there was not one student who was brought in front of this board who said, I don't want police in my school. Not one. How did that happen? But the folks who are sitting at this table want us to continue to engage in some kind of honest dialogue when this is the way that they watch business being conducted and they do nothing. They sit here, look at their faces right now. Look at their faces. So you see the police officers standing here on either side of me. They were not here for the many years I came to Police Services Board. You see the stanchion dividing yourselves from this board table. That was not here for many years. You saw the body searches and bag searches and metal detectors when you came into this building today. That was not here until last month. So the people sitting at this table, in a very, very serious act of hypocrisy, I must say that they want children who are undocumented, which I mentioned earlier. We talked about the rationale for why this is such a problem to have cops in our schools. They actually expect kids to go through a metal detector, go through a body search, go through a bag search, and then come in here. Did they do that to all the students that they brought in here to support the police? No, they did not do that to them. But they want to do it to us, and then they want undocumented kids to come sit and tell them how scary it is to have a police officer in their school. Y'all arrested me last month for telling you the truth, and you want undocumented kids to come sit here and speak with you? Access without fear is impossible if this is the climate where we are supposed to be having a public conversation. Someone who sits in these chairs and occupies this space that you folks occupy right now is going to come and is going to do the right thing. So you can do the right thing and cancel this program, or you can resign. It's that simple. And the chief of police who's making these recommendations saying that we need this program and that this program is helpful, but he won't call the cops off of the undocumented kids in our schools, he also needs to resign immediately. But finally, for what this board has done to Defonte Miller and the disrespect which brought us all out here today, like I said, somebody needs to do the right thing at this table. I don't think it's all of you. Mayor Tory, I don't know how you could have endorsed a sanctuary city motion saying you will protect people to have city services and then sit here and equivocate about police in our schools who refuse to say we will follow a don't ask, don't tell policy. We won't report kids in school because we want them to go to school, and that's the most important thing. You authorized the re-upping and the reaffirmation of Sanctuary City, but then you sit here as if you don't know and, oh, we need to hear from some kids. Maybe some kids will come through the metal detectors and tell us how hard it is to be in school.
Desmond, thank you.
We see you, we see all of you, and by the way, last thing I'm going to say, this microphone that I'm speaking on right now, you see how it's different from all the microphones here? It's because that means they can cut off my microphone and I can't push the button to turn it back on. They've thought of everything to silence us. They never will. Resign, every single one of you, or do the right thing.
Thank you, Desmond. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. Could we have the next Deputant Brian DeMattis, please? Go ahead, Inspector. Thank you, Brian. We'll give you 5 minutes, and I'll give you a 1-minute warning, if that's okay.
Hello? Testing? Okay. Sorry, I'm super nervous. And
That's okay. Thank you.
Butterflies, because I'm not sure I could do... How about now? Better?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I want to talk about the school resource program, how I'm short. So I want to talk about why I'm here. I'm here as a concerned citizen, and I'm here as someone who was born and raised in Toronto. But I'm here as someone.
Microphone's good, you got it down today. Microphone's on now.
How about this? Okay. Thank you. I come from an immigrant family, and we are taught to fear the police, and for good reason. The police means our families will be broken up. The police means not only our parents are taken away, but our culture is taken away. And I want to talk about someone who was in the Catholic school system, who had to leave to a shelter program called the Triangle Program because I was queer. And I left the Catholic school system because I was encountered with so much homophobia, so much xenophobia. It was demonstrated to many Portuguese folks that had the highest dropout rates. I want to talk about how dangerous it is and irresponsible it is to have police in schools, especially if you do not adopt the don't ask, don't tell policy for undocumented students. This means undocumented student lives are at risk, but so are their families. You're putting students at risk just for a PR campaign for the police. It is irresponsible. I am advocating and I am begging that this board not only suspends while they do research, but also find a way to adopt the don't ask, don't tell minimally. These are lives here. We could all be political, we could all go on Facebook, whatever, but we are talking about families' lives here. Talking about single moms who have to work 4 jobs to get their students, but so scared that she gets beaten by her husband because police can't be called, because that means their kids are going to be taken away. I'm begging you, for all the lives that are in TDSB, the Toronto Catholic School Board, I'm begging you to at least adopt the don't ask, don't tell. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. Colleagues, are there any questions of Brian? Okay, Brian, thank you. Gita Madden? Is Gita Madden here? Gita? Gita, thank you for coming. I'll give you 5 minutes. I'll give you a 1-minute warning. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Geeta Madden. I'm here representing an organization called Education, Not Incarceration. So for folks that don't know the School Resource Officer Program, we've been talking about it, but it was implemented in 2008. It's put armed police officers in some of our city's schools for the past 10 years. And we have a number of concerns about the proposal that Chief Saunders has put forward regarding the review of the program. So first, I think it's really critical to contextualize the SRO program on in the brutal attack on Black teen Devontae Miller by Toronto officer Michael Theriot and the alleged subsequent cover-up that implicates many individuals in the Toronto Police Service. This is important because it is this context in which the SRO program exists. It does not exist in a bubble separate from what's going on the street. So what happened to Devontae Miller is directly related to why we refuse the presence of police officers in our schools. Over the past few months, community members, parents, academics, educators, and youth have come here and sat right here and told you that the program is targeting racialized young people and doing great harm to many students, and you have sat there silent, and you have refused to suspend the program. There is no greater indication of your utter disregard for the humanity of some of the most marginalized young people in our city than your silence when confronted with the implications of your decisions. And this is especially you, Mayor Tory. You are the mayor of this city. In terms of the proposal, firstly, I would like to note that the proposal states that an academic study of the review has never been completed. This is false. I did my graduate research at U of T specifically about the Toronto SRO program. This work was done, and it is available through a simple Google search. This work was done with a framework of equity and anti-racism, and my supervisor was international legal and academic expert in racial violence, Dr. Shireen Razak. So it appears that when you say that no academic research has been done, what you mean is that there is no existing academic research that reflects your position on the SRO program. And it is clear that this is the intention of your review. The intention of this review is to produce an academic report that is pro-SRO that you can use to legitimize the continued existence of the program. So how do we know this? Firstly, the steering committee for the review is led by the chair of the board and the chief of police. And the review committee includes 3 TPS members. So to be clear, this is not an independent review, as you state. This is police investigating police. And everyone in this room knows what happens when you have police evaluating the police. This is not an independent review. In fact, you did evaluate yourselves in 2009 and 2011, and you declared the program a great success, even when at the time there were very clear indications that that is simply not true. You have also recommended that the review team uses an equity perspective. So as some people here said, some of us have reached out to Ryerson, and specifically we reached out to professors that have a track record of equity-based research methodologies and analysis. Nobody can tell us who's conducting this review. So we want to know the names of the researchers, the department that you're funding $80,000 to do this review, and we want to know exactly how the money is going to be used, including how much of it is going straight into the pockets of the researchers. Further, this is about schooling. It's basic. It requires experts in education. So it's very curious to me that you've chosen Ryerson to conduct a review of this program when it's the only university in Toronto that does not have a faculty of education. In fact, OIC at U of T has an entire department devoted to studying issues of equity in the education system. So why aren't they doing this research? I actually know why. It's because you chose Ryerson because your other 2 options, York and U of T, have had well-respected faculty take a stand against the SRO program. So that certainly would not work in your favor. Lastly, this review, as it's proposed, rests on the assumption that the SRO program will continue. It asks questions about how to build and improve the program, whether SROs should be in or out of uniform, etc. So it completely misses the mark on the most fundamental question, which is, should this program even exist in the first place? Thank you. So to answer that question from an equity perspective, as you'd like to do, you actually already have all the information you need, and a review is just a waste of time and money. If you really did care about that question, you would have suspended the program months or years ago. So to reiterate, we are calling for the full removal of the SRO program. The proposal that is on the table should not be approved until all of these concerns and the ones that have been brought up in previous meetings have been properly addressed, and at the very least, you must suspend the program, especially considering the extended timeline for review that was not agreed upon at this meeting. It was not in the motion that you all approved. The timeline was till December. It's been extended to June. You must suspend the program and do a proper independent review.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, are there questions for Geeta, the Councillor Carroll?
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions. First of all, because your organization has been tracking this since the program was first offered. Are you also tracking research, whatever research is going on at the TDSB? Do you know who's conducting their review?
No.
I'm asking only because I'm having trouble finding out myself. They claim to have an independent review, and I understand it's delivered in October, but I don't know who's writing it. So in any case, I'll ask my question of the deputant. The deputation that you've given is not to do this review, but be that as it may, should it pass today, in your opinion, because are you now a TDSB employee?
I'm here in my capacity.
Well, not just
as education, not incarceration.
Oh, okay. The only reason I was asking if you're a board member is I was wondering if you had any comment specifically on, in the review committee, the 7 public members, there's Toronto Youth Cabinet, and which I'm confident about because the 2 members of the Youth Cabinet came here and took a similar position to your own, and I know they were speaking on behalf of the rest of the Youth Cabinet because I went and met with them. So I feel that's a good addition. But in terms of school principals, school trustees, and students from the 2 major boards, how would we ensure that we get balance from those members if we call them and say, we'd like you to populate this review committee? How would we go about making sure that we got a balance from each?
My mic's off.
Sorry, the microphone of the deputy has been turned off? Oh, here we are.
Yeah?
Here we are. Yeah, you're back.
I'm actually not interested in giving you advice about how to conduct a review that I think is illegitimate.
Okay.
The review is stacked with police. It's police investigating police. I have nothing more to say about that. It's not a legitimate review.
Okay, thank you. I tried.
Thank you. Any other questions, colleagues? If not, Gita, thank you very much. There's one more deputy who may not be here, Tamara Thomas. There is a deputation on both that she has sent in your package. Colleagues, are there questions of our chief? Do you want to comment on anything? If not, are there questions from colleagues of the chief about?
So listening to some of the deputations, I thank you for your opinion. It's important. The one thing that is important that I have seen over and over again with this particular subject, which is becoming a heated subject, is that there are different sides to this opinion. I've heard a multitude. Exactly. And so, in order to be fair, I'm looking for this report to look at the present system, look at what the issues are, the concerns. We are seeing that it hasn't been reviewed in as vigorous a manner in which it should be, which is what we are going to be doing. Not only that, but during the course of it, where we have 7 members and 3 police officers, it is going to be done in an open, transparent fashion, forum. And as well as that, as we do this report, when we see any issues that may benefit the actual program in real time, you have my assurance that we'll make those changes speedy rather than just waiting for a full report to take place.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, well, it's free, but give it to me. But ladies and gentlemen, listen, people have been polite and listened to your points of view. We respect them. Would you please let us and the other people that want to speak address it without the heckling? Thank you. Colleagues, are there any questions? First of all, Councillor Carroll, then Mayor Tory.
So I do have some questions, and it's similar to what I asked the last deputant. So we had in our June meeting, we did have a stacked deck. There was a lot of organization. So has there been any thought given? You have 7 public members and 3 police service members who will sort of review the review, so to speak, and provide comment when the review comes back to us. When the review comes back to us, will we get not only the review committee's opinion, the opinion of the committee, but the raw material that comes back? Will we have the ability to review Ryerson's raw material, which is independent? It does not include a police officer's authorship?
I will ask what the parameters are, but that is something that I will definitely be striving for, yes.
Okay. And you saw the polarized nature of the deputants list last June. There are, as a councillor whose email is available, I'm inundated daily with the people saying, save my SRO. So there is a split. That is a true fact. That is not truthiness. That is a true fact. Daily. So in order to ensure that there is balance coming from the people on that review committee, how has Ryerson suggested, and how are you suggesting? How do we make sure that if we if we populate this review committee with people coming from the boards, that they are going to endeavor to have some balance there, because there's polarization over there in them boards based on the email I'm getting. I'm just going to keep saying true things based on the email evidence.
Well, I'm certainly glad this room isn't stacked today.
Yes.
We will be doing, as we stated in the report, we said that we are going to do everything.
I'm having trouble hearing the answer. I need to hear the answer, Mr. Chair.
We're,
Chief Saunders, please.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Thank you, appreciate
You
that.
have the floor.
We're going to do everything we can to make sure that we get every single possible lens possible at this, with this committee. It's not going to be getting just one side of the story. As I've stated, there are two sides to the story, and I want to hear both sides of the story.
Yeah, yeah. So that will be conveyed to the boards. That we hope to hear that from the whoever the board sends, or are we going to go there and screen them ourselves? Like, how will we make that clear to them that we're looking for balance from the boards? Because it's yeah.
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
Deputy
okay.
Federico, did you have something you wanted to add?
Sure, I just might add that the entire review will be overseen by a committee composed of the chair of the board, representative from the chief of police, and a member of the board or designate. So that's how you can ensure that the review will meet the expectations and the tests that you might apply against it.
Okay. And while this is going on, I do understand. I've heard different things from folks. I made some inquiries myself. I understand that the board, the TDSB, the public board anyway, is going to have their report to them by October, is going to be making their decision then, which puts us in an awkward timing situation. It's only a month, basically a month after the first day of school. The question is this: in the interim, if today we decide that that we're going to wait and let them release their study and make their decision at the board level, meanwhile it's the first day of school, what work is being done in terms of communicating with the SRO program lead and the officers themselves about the style of policing, community policing? What programs are you involved in? What are you doing there? I will hopefully get the answer from the deputy chief.
So the delivery of the
Sorry.
school resource officer program is a collaboration with the school boards and the Toronto Police. So in September, the program will roll out as a result of collaboration and consultation with the school board, which includes the school community. And so the program will reflect what those particular focuses or emphasis or particular aspects of the program that the school would like to see in consultation with us.
And not only that, but prior to, there is a week of comprehensive training specific to what we're asking our school resource officers to be doing.
Right, what we're asking them to be doing. The reason I asked there is in as much as it's a partnership in that the principal can request them, that principal can't tell that officer how to police. That's on us. It's the chief's duty to say, this is the type of activity I want you to be doing as I deploy you out into the world today, whether you're in a school or in the community. Is that not true? Police Service Act says the chief tells police how to police. Do we maintain that control once they go into a school?
So the authorities that a police officer have are articulated in a number of pieces of legislation, including the Police Act. That doesn't change because we have a program in the school. What does happen in the school is what the officer engages in terms of relationship building, interventions, support for the school, support for the students, is a product of collaboration. But if the officer is expected to take some policing action, then of course the schools would defer to the officer's authority and responsibilities. But when the officer's in the school, working with children, engaged, or working with the youth, engaged in capacity building, youth engagement, youth development, These are all programs that are collaborative programs subject to school input and the community's input into what the officers do. A distinction in roles. But the officers are in the schools daily, not engaged in law enforcement or security. They're engaged in community capacity building.
That's in essence what I'm asking.
Please let
Is
the
that going to be
discussion
the
go on.
command that they get before the first day of school?
Sorry. Councillor Carroll, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So that's exactly my question. Are we going to make that clear here before the first day of school, that that's our expectation? What I'm getting at is if that's the type of activity we want them engaged in, that's what we want them to be doing, and that's what we have our chief commanding them to do. That's great. But if they're doing the other more negative things that we've heard anecdotally and we know that some people have experienced, are we going to be talking to the SROs to say, that wasn't our intention? Here are the things that we expect you to be engaging in. Community policing, the very principles of community policing we espouse, that's what we want them to be doing in schools. Will that be the routine order before school starts this year?
Well, I know one of the things that I will be instructing my school resource officers is not to be conducting immigration questions.
Mayor Tory? Okay. Any other colleagues, any other questions, discussion? Then Mayor Tory?
No, SRO! No, SRO! No,
Mayor Tory? Okay, thank you, colleagues. Mayor Tory, you had a motion
Yes,
you wish to
Mr.
put
Chair, I
forward?
had a motion. I'll just say that the motion arises out of my reading of the brief of the African Canadian Legal Clinic, and while I want to acknowledge up front the brief indicates their view that the program should be abolished, that they did nonetheless make some constructive suggestions, and two of which I wanted to incorporate into the recommendations because I think they're things that are worthy of being incorporated. The first that I put up there is the words that I've added that simply make sure it makes into the recommendations the specific reference to the framework and requirements set out in the report. There's a number of things on the succeeding pages which don't form part of the recommendations but form part of the report. And then I make particular mention there, as you see, it says particularly as related to community consultation and review of available data and practices from other jurisdictions. That should be plural, jurisdictions. I say that because in the report, it mentioned, in the deputation, the written deputation of the African Canadian Legal Clinic, they mentioned a number of places, Georgia and I think Colorado, where these programs didn't work. And I certainly would want to make sure that we looked at those reports to figure out what they had to say, I think as a matter of fairness. And I think that the principle of community consultation is something that we accept. The second recommendation, which I'm adding by way of a third, proposing to add by way of a third recommendation to this report, was also raised by the African Canadian Legal Clinic in their deputation, and I think it speaks to the broader question that Councillor Carroll was asking about, but the group they said, and I respect the fact they said this, that the one group they said must be included for sure in the group that are involved in this exercise are young black students. And so I've simply said that the student representation from the 2 school boards, which are provided for, again, just on a list in the report, include representation of young black students, because I think those were 2 very constructive suggestions made by the African Canadian Legal Clinic in their written deputation. And I just want to acknowledge that deputation because it made very clear that they were opposed to the program and thought it should be done away with, and that's fine. But they also did acknowledge that, you know, there could be a review, and they made some suggestions as to how that review could be made better, not backing away from their position that the program should be abolished. And I respect the fact that they did that, and as a result, there were 2 things at least that I saw there that I thought deserved to be incorporated. And I think it is in that spirit, when they made that deputation, and they weren't here to speak to it, that we can have discussions here where people make points like this that we can accept, as opposed to sort of pretending there actually is no other point of view out there, which I just find interesting, I guess, that there's only one point of view, only one acceptable outcome, and that there is no need for a review. And I am heartened by the fact, actually, that a large numbers of the public at large, including people from all corners of the community, and including from corners of the media, actually support this as being the right way to go about making an important public policy decision, which is to actually have a review. I am confident that Ryerson will carry it out in a way that is objective, because I don't think they would dare tarnish their own reputation, which I think is a very good one when it comes to issues of diversity and related matters. And I'm confident that this steering committee, properly constructed and including some of the things that I've talked about here with regard to representation of young black students, can do a proper job. And the notion to me, I think if we were proposing, you know, in fact, there was a complaint made about the fact that when the program was established in 2008, it was done without any consultation whatsoever. And here we are now saying we're going to have consultation, we're going to have a third party, a respected academic third party review this, we're going to have consultation, we're going to have community representation, and that is being condemned. So, you know, I just think we're doing the right thing when it comes to how we're going about reviewing this program. I wish the review could be done a little faster, but I accept the fact that there's a timetable they've set out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry. If not, we have the motions before you and the additions that the mayor has added. So that is the Toronto Police Service Board approved the proposed review and evaluation of the Toronto Police Service says School Resource Officer Program to be carried out by Ryerson University within the framework and requirements set out in this report, particularly as related to community consultation and review of the available data and practices from other jurisdictions. And then I would say that actually, more correctly, a recommendation number 2 should be that what you've got there is 3, Mayor Tory, that student representation from the Toronto District School Board and the Catholic District School Board include representation of black students. And that would make 3, the one that's item 2 there, the board approved the expenditure of $80,000 from the board special fund to support this review. Is that capture it, colleagues? Mayor Tory captures it. So you're putting it forward, Mayor Tory, as a proposal. May I have a seconder? Councillor Carroll, any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any contrary? Carried unanimously. I think that, does that include everything here? Oh, yes, 35. And Councillor Carroll, we held that up. This is...
I held it up? What?
Yes, this is the motion to approve. This was the request to retain Superintendent Deborah Preston. Yep, okay, so a motion to approve, seconded by Councillor Lee. All in favor? Any contrary? Okay, thank you. Before I close the meeting, however, I want to acknowledge, it's been brought up to me by Deanna Renee, that we were late in sending out the published agenda, which is supposed to be out 5 days prior, and was not. It was my fault, and so I apologize for that. I'm sure that it will not happen again. Recognizing that there may have been deputants, and certainly Ms. Renee was one of them, who wanted to participate in the discussion, I would encourage anybody that was in that position who wishes to make comments on any items to send them by email to the board, and I will ensure that they are shared with all the board members. Okay? I'm sorry, that's as far as, that is on the record in writing. So, ladies and gentlemen, is there any other business? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Lee, very quick, and Dr. Nuria, thank you. All in favor? Any contrary? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, everybody.